Hello VC, Jeff here. Kind of a slightly crappy Monday morning, but we're all here together. I'm glad to be here with you. And this is a Spin Zone video, finally. Last week was way too busy for me to do much of any kind of video making. So, yeah, I got 10 albums here, so I've got a bunch of stuff to show. Quick updates on the Discogs project. I'm up to 290 records logged. I'll hit 300 today. I just did 10 this morning before I started filming, and after I do my lawn chores and other stuff, I will be doing at least 10 more, so I will get to 300 today, which is good. Yeah, it's been raining here so much that every time I cut the grass or every time I get a chance to do it, it's like ankle high and it's so freaking tall and it just clumps up and goes everywhere. The joys of home ownership, I know. Yeah, I have started getting into the main part of my collection, which is alphabetized, and I am very deep into the B section. I've got lots of records from artists whose name starts with B. So, yeah, it's been quite enlightening, to say the least. I haven't really been able to spend money this month on records, as I've mentioned before, but I think I may be able to make an exception because me and the wife saw Avengers Endgame over the weekend. And we went to a new theater, and right next to that theater is a Goodwill. Now I'm hoping that this might be the one where I actually find something that is worth anything to me. Because, as I've said before, I've been to like 3 or 4 other Goodwills remotely close to my area, and they've all been garbage. So I don't know if it'll be today. If not today, maybe tomorrow. I'm going to take another run out there, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed and see if I find anything. So, I desperately want to find something at a Goodwill because I've seen so many others who found gold there. So, we'll see. We don't get too political here in the Spin Zone, but my political affiliation for next year's election is right here. If you've seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, you'll get the joke. All right. As for the records themselves, I think all but one of them are could be considered back of the crate albums because, like I said, finances being what they are this month, I am using this as an opportunity to work down the rolling record crate, which houses all of my albums that I haven't played yet. So all of these albums, except one, have been sitting in that crate for a little while now. We're going to start off with the first 2 are from 1990. This is Robert Plant's solo album from 1990 called Manic Nirvana. In all honesty, this is actually the last solo Plant record that I really paid attention to. I know he's made other albums since, but either I didn't hear much of them, or if it just didn't get radio airplay at the time, I really didn't know too much about it. So this one got a lot of airplay when it came out. In fact, I have a song listing on here. Yeah, it's hard to read. I know the song Tie-Dye on the Highway was a big radio hit for him, because I know I've heard that song many times before. Even though this is a 1990 album, it's got the big 80s production still. Big drum sound, big loud guitars. Plant's voice is still in good shape. He's still able to hit the high notes. And this is kind of the state of music before, right before grunge stepped in and kick these guys to the curb for a little while. So, good record, but it does sound a little dated, admittedly. But Plant's voice is timeless, so for nothing else, it's good to hear him let loose like he used to be able to do. I don't know if he can do it anymore. Another one from 1990, Fleetwood Mac. This was, I think this was the last Fleetwood Mac album I had in my crate that I hadn't played yet, because I'd gone through a phase where I was trying to collect up all their albums. And I don't have them all, but this one here is, here's the back cover. You can see the band there. Lindsey Buckingham is not on this album. Instead, they hired 2 other guitarists to take his place, which is really kind of funny because nowadays they hired 2 other guitarists to take his place once they kicked him out of the band this past year, which is insane, I know, but be that as it may, this is probably the most generic sounding Fleetwood Mac album that you're going to ever hear. It's okay. I mean, Christine McVie, Stevie Nicks still have, you know, the songwriting chops. Their stuff is okay. I think these guitarist guys, I don't even know their names. I've forgotten their names already. I think they sing on a couple of tracks. I don't know which one does what. But this album could be by any generic band, you know, any AOR generic band that might get played on, you know, adult contemporary stations. You know, far cry from the original blues-based band, or even the Bob Welch early 70s era, and certainly a far cry from the early Buckingham Nicks era. So, I got this more or less for completion's sake. It's just meh. You know, it's nothing great. I don't really have anything good or bad to say about it. I listened to it and it was just like, well, okay. Next. Next in this case is Traffic. It's their second album and it's their self-titled album. That's why I put ST in the Facebook entry. Someone didn't know what that meant. Self-titled. This has the old school United Artists label, which looks pretty cool. Record's in really nice shape, played really nicely, and I love this album. This was really a great album. I wasn't as familiar with this one as I was with Dear Mr. Fantasy, but Feeling All Right's on this one, which is probably their big hit. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Traffic, so I don't know why this didn't get played sooner. Because I picked up a couple of Traffic albums, I think last year or the year before, and for whatever reason, this one just made its way back in the back of the crate. So what can I say? It's no fault of this album. This is a great album. So if you are a Traffic fan like me, this is a must-own record in your Traffic collection, for sure. Then another band that I wasn't familiar with beyond their big hit, Radar Love, was Golden Earring. So this one and the next album I'm going to show are the last ones from the group of records that I bought for my wife's cousin when I bought his speakers. He had a record collection, you know, a group of records in a beautiful homemade wooden box. It was painted white. Had this, you know, hinged lid with a chain holding it on. And damn near all the records in that box were in very, very, very nice condition. So this was one of the ones that I picked. This is their album Moontan. Of course, it's the one that contains Radar Love, which is, again, the only song. Well, I also know Twilight Zone, but that didn't come out till the 80s. but I think Radar Love was their bigger hit. And I got to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised by this album because I really didn't know what to expect from Golden Earring beyond that hit song. And this record was really, really nice to listen to. In fact, I think I'm going to have to track down some more Golden Earring. So I am open for suggestions if any of you are more familiar with this band than I. So, yeah, and this is the cover that doesn't have the topless girl on it. It's on Track Records. I think this came out in '74. Very nice playing record, very good shape, it sounds great, and I really love the music. So Golden Earring Moontan was a winner. Another album that I didn't know what to expect, and the last from that group I just mentioned, is Iron Butterfly. And this is their album Ball. Didn't have any song on it that I was remotely familiar with. So why did I buy it? It's in mint condition. The cover and the record were just mint. And I just took a chance. That's all. I mean, I knew... The only thing I know of Iron Butterfly was In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. But I figured, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. This was like $5. I think I paid for this, so... it's not... I mean, it's kind of a heavy psych album, but also not. It's got like pop elements to it too. Some of these songs are just kind of like bouncy. I don't know how else to describe it. So I think this was the last album. Who told me this? Was it you, Tina Ferrazzoli? This was the last album with the original lineup of the band, I think. This came out in '69. And this was another, like I said, I took a chance on it. I ended up liking it a lot. So, Ball by Iron Butterfly. This was another winner. And the only album in this lineup that is not a Back of the Crate album is from my mystery VCLT sender. Of course, I showed this, I think, in the last video that I made. This was the Portishead album, and I couldn't wait. Everything got pushed to the side, and I played this instead. What a great album. This is now the third album of theirs that I have, and so far, all three are just absolute masterpieces. If you like this kind of music, if you like slow, sensual, dark, trip-hop music, you have to get Portishead. You just have to. So, thank you once again to my mystery VCLT sender. Still not saying who it was. But this was a fantastic album, and it's going to get spun many, many more times in the future. And I just loved it. So, what else can I say? It's fantastic. Then, from Portishead, we switch gears and go to Billy Joel. This was his 1989 album Stormfront. This was the only 80s Billy Joel album that I didn't own, which is the reason why I bought it at the estate sale, which I went to a couple months ago now. And I think this album cost me $2. Mint condition record, played beautifully. And the music, it's still big 80s sounding, but, you know, I think this was the second to last studio pop album that Billy Joel put out. So there's We Didn't Start the Fire is on this one, which is okay. I mean, I've heard it a million times. I Go to Extremes is on this. The Downeaster Alexa, which is kind of like a sea shanty, was a nice little change of pace and style for Mr. Joel. So he still sells out arenas with all of his old music, so some of that classic stuff is on here. Again, you know, is it as good as The Stranger? Nah. Different, you know, different type of music, different style, but overall, it's a decent listen. So I'm glad I have it in my collection, and now I've got it completed my Billy Joel 80s collection. Then, from here, we go to Jethro Tull. This was VCLT a while back from the great Steve Carlson. This is Minstrel in the Gallery. This was their 1975 album. And, oh, sorry, the back cover goes like this. You flip it, you don't turn it. So here we go. And another enjoyable listen. This was also, I had a run of Tull albums that I picked up over the last couple years, and this was the last one in that group to get played. So now I've kind of cleared the decks of Jethro Tull for now. This is also a great album. Again, I was only familiar with the title track, but has a very nice sound. You know, it's before Tull got a little too electronic sounding. You know, this came out in '75, so you still kind of had that classic Tull sound with this album. And it's one of Steve's favorites, and he gave one to me. So what a guy, what a sweet guy. So thank you, Steve. You're the best. Then, oh, this is what I forgot to tell you. I just spun this. It's a 12-inch single of Satisfaction, so, you know, it took me like, what, 6 or 7 minutes to listen to this entire thing. I listened to the B-sides were actually a little more interesting than Satisfaction, because I've heard it so many times. What I meant to say at the top of this video is that, and you're not going to believe this, the Black Box record shipment still hasn't arrived, and when I checked the tracking on Saturday, the package went back to Pittsburgh. I couldn't believe my eyes when I looked at the tracking. I'm like, what? It went to Pittsburgh again. So I sent an email to Kyle again, and I said, hey, dude, you know, did you address this thing right? Are you sure? And he responded quickly, and he said, yeah, and he showed me what he had listed as my address, and I'm like, yep, that's it. He goes, it's the post office. You know, I know it's frustrating, but what can I say? It's out of my control, which is true. But I still had to vent because I was kind of pissed off. So the saga of the missing Black Box shipment continues. I said, I already got your bonus record like 2 days ago. Oh well. This is fine. You know, I'm glad to have this in my collection too. It's the Stones. So, you can't really say no to the Stones, can you? I know I can't. And last but not least, I've got several Genesis albums in my rolling record crate that I still have yet to listen to, so that's kind of a new tangent that I'm going to be going on here intermittently. And this was their first album, from Genesis to Revelation. Pretty plain cover all in all. And it was 1974 reissue of this album, which originally came out in '69. So, when I posted this on Facebook, Bill from the Vinylverse responded, and he said how much he liked this record, and that it had a strong Bee Gees vibe to him, which I can see. I can definitely see that. I also got a very strong Moody Blues vibe because of, sounds like they've got a lot of Mellotron on this album. It just has that kind of, like, stately British pop sound to it, the way a lot of the classic Moody's albums sound. So, I enjoyed this record. I didn't know what to expect from it, you know, because it didn't have Phil Collins yet. It didn't have Steve Hackett yet. You know, Peter Gabriel sang great on this record. And the songs kind of just flowed from one into another. There wasn't really breaks between them, which was nice. And there was a lot of music on this record. There was like 12 or 13 songs on this record. Like each side, it just felt jam-packed with material to listen to. But it was very enjoyable. And it's worlds apart from what this band would eventually turn into. you know, even throughout the later Peter Gabriel era. But, you know, if you're interested in the very beginnings of this band, of course you have to get this album. I found this at a half-price books, believe it or not, for, I want to say $5 or $6, maybe $7. Of course, you know, you got the ringware on the cover, but the record itself is pretty close to mint. You know, maybe VG+++ if you want to get super technical. But it played great, it sounded great, and I'm anxious now to work my way through the other records that I haven't listened to yet. So, From Genesis to Revelation is a welcome addition to my collection. I'm glad I had it. And there you have it. It's almost 21 minutes. Not bad for 10 records. Okay. Doing good today. I'm getting stuff done. So, I plan on making a couple contest videos this week. So, with any luck, you'll be seeing more of my smiling face soon. All right, guys. Everybody take care. And, yeah, I'll be seeing you soon. So, peace. Love you all.